Welcome, everyone, to today's show. I'm JJ Flazanes, your producer and empowerment strategist. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today's episode is a continuation of last week's episode where we talk with Dr. Mindy Peltz about diet variation for weight loss and hormones, and it included a lot of fasting conversation for all kinds of things. And today we're going to take that a little deeper, a little further with David Avocado Wolfe about water fasting and doing it for a lot longer period of time and our body's ability to heal itself through just about everything, and how to do it well, how to do it easily, and to get some support. Now, if you feel drawn to work with David and do his program, which I will be doing at some point, I would love you to go to upgradelife.club to join his membership and to get involved with him. If you would love to do it with our group, people from my community, we are going to be planning some kind of fasting. I just completed 2 20-hour fasts over the weekend, actually, at my Ultimate Podcast Mastermind. And it was really easy because I was very busy. I was very focused. And even when everyone was eating lunch, I wasn't hungry at all. So in this episode, David and I talk about how I didn't actually do one that he had recently because I was hosting people here at the house. Well, hosting people at my house where I'm cooking food for them does require me to taste the food and make sure that it's up to my standards. And that sometimes can be more difficult. But hosting a event or a weekend-long retreat or mastermind outside of my home was extremely easy to do. So I'm just letting you know I just completed 2 20-hour fasts and they were pretty easy. But I'd love to host one or a series of them that are a little bit longer and more strategic if you're interested. So if you're interested in doing that with me in the group, you can join our Inner Circle membership, jjflazanes.com/inner circle. And then one more thing as we're moving into the summer, and I know people are traveling maybe and taking a little bit more time off, which absolutely everybody would benefit from doing. I'm also going to recommend that I'm going to have a couple sales. And in the sales, you're going to hear about it on the email list and you might see it on Facebook, but where you're going to see most of it's going to be on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram account and you're not already following me on Instagram, I'd invite us to connect that way. I only have one. It's JJ Flazanes. So come on over and follow me on Instagram so that in case there's a sale that's of interest to you, that of something that you're thinking about doing, you can find out more on Instagram. So let me tell you a little bit about today's show. David Avocado Wolfe is the rock star and Indiana Jones of the superfoods and longevity multiverse. His social media posts reach millions of people each week around the world with succinct, powerful, inspirational quotes, news, health information, and education. With over 26 years of dedicated experience and having hosted nearly 3,000 live health events, David has led the environmental charge for radiant health via a positive mental attitude, eco-community building, living spring water, and the best ever quality organic foods, wild foods, juices, and herbs. David Avocado Wolfe is the visionary founder and president of the nonprofit, the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation charity, which is ftpf.org, and that will be in the show notes, with a mission to plant 18 billion fruit, nut, and medicinal trees on Earth. I should have told him that I'm going to be contributing to that very quickly in my own backyard. So he's a speaker, nutritionist, superfoodist, orator, herbalist, chocolatier, organic farmer, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the show, everyone. I have a special treat for you. David Avocado Wolfe is with me today, and we're going to be talking about water fasting and detoxing. I met David back in 2007 at the very first Peak Potentials Extreme Health event. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, we are doing a video, so come on over to jjflazanes.tv to check that out. And if you're watching us on video, you can actually click below and grab the podcast to take it with you on your walk outside in nature, to earth, to get some vitamin D from the sun, to multitask, to do whatever you're doing. You don't have to be pinned here on the video. You can take us on audio. So welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me, and great and pertinent subject to discuss today.
You know, I have talked about detoxing several times on the show in different forms, and water fasting came up with Dr. Nasha Winters on the first show that we did called Healing into Dying. And it was really her story about what she did by default to heal her cancer, like the start of her journey. And water fasting or fasting was just one of them. And I know it's kind of like a hot trend. And sometimes, and I say trend, you know, kind of jokingly, because things that work, people often, you know, they look at it and they question it because if it's difficult or inconvenient, we want to poo-poo it. If it's something that that challenges our belief system. We want to sort of throw it under the bus and not give it any time to really examine it or even try it. We're often too quick to defend our normal life, that we don't want anything extreme. And I know for me, I won't lie, COVID's been a fun eating and drinking time. Went to Italy, went to Mexico. I've had margaritas. It's been a really fun, supporting a vegan Italian restaurant, eating way too many carbs, and a gluten-free bakery that I love and somehow felt personally responsible for keeping in business. But it's time for like a change. I'm moving into my dream home. I'm moving out of LA into Ojai. My lifestyle's going to change. Not that it's bad, it's good, but I'm going to make it that much better. And I want to kind of clean up. And so it's been coming to me like, do a water fast. And I know that you lead them. I know you teach them. I know you've been doing them. You've done a 30-day, you do a 3-week. So first of all, let's just start off by telling everybody, I met you back in 2007, like I said, in Peak Potentials Extreme Health. And I know you were talking about superfoods and raw foods and plant-based foods. And, like, can we just tell people who don't know you or haven't heard of you before a little bit about your backstory and how you got into sort of being David Avocado Wolfe?
Sure. Well, both my parents are medical doctors. I was born into that environment. And early on, I realized like, hey, there's a lot of troubles here that people are outside of that world don't know about. So that got me oriented towards natural medicine. And then really just by circumstance, being in Southern California and being almost the inheritor of an enormous amount of knowledge on fasting, cleansing, all the great healing retreats in Southern California. I was at the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation for years. I used to go there and study for years. It was just an amazing library of material. And that's where I was really taught by the greats. And so all I'm doing is just standing on their shoulders. And they told me way back then, they're like, oh, when you're like 50, you're going to be leading cleansing because this is actually what people need. I know you think it's about diet or this or the other thing now, but it's really about cleansing. Boy, were they right. Wow, were they right. It's a very obvious idea. We need to allow our body to catch up. That's as simple as it gets. How many times did we go on a trip and we got behind on 2 or 3 bowel movements or 5 bowel movements and never really caught up? This backs up, and this is something that we catch up on as we do the cleansing. And so the most important thing actually for cleansing is bowel cleansing. You have to pull the plug out of the bathtub and drain the water out. At some point, you can't just keep throwing chemicals in there to try to clean the water. You've got to actually drain it out. And that's where we focus. And then eventually through step-by-step methodology, we get to the water fast. So we don't just jump into any kind of water fast. We're not at that stage. We're actually very toxic. We're toxic with things we're breathing, automobile exhaust, brake dust, for example. It's crazy that we get exposed to this. We don't even talk about it. The 2 biggest carcinogens in breast cancer are actually coming from automobile exhaust. Never talked about. Nobody cares. It's become so normal that we're sitting in traffic and breathing all that stuff in. Other things that are important is, of course, food. I mean, the food and the chemicals sprayed in our food is just really scary, actually. But our body has a natural detoxification series of mechanisms. So we just allow it to work. And one of my favorite phrases of all cleanses that we do, and I started off with people on day 1, which is, we're going to get you on God's operating table. We're going to let your body heal itself. Your body can heal itself as long as you get out of the way and stop doing things. One of the things I like to say is nothing is better for pain. Don't do anything. Just lay there. Nothing. Don't do anything. We are so reactive. I'm in pain. I have to do something. I have to take this. I have to eat this. I have to take this pill. Stop everything and do nothing and meditate on your pain, and you will find answers. And that's what we get people to do. But it's a process because we are at such a pace. It's crazy. Even in this time, we're still at a crazy pace. So it takes about actually 2 weeks to slow everyone down. And we're in a chat group day to day. And I used to do these for free, by the way, for all my customers, my superfoods back when, but I found people would skip out on me when it came time to the real tough cleansing or, the real end of the cleanse where you're really trying to get, hey, like we got all this distance, we're 15 days in, let's really go for it these next 3 days or a week or whatever we were doing. But people would bail out because they hadn't put any money down. And so now I ask for a nominal fee always, because then people they're invested. They put their bet down. And it's fascinating with people all over the world. And we can do it all online, but we do it together, and together is always better for stuff like this. This is tough, right? This is real stuff where you're like dealing with your, crisis in the moment of like, oh, I really want to eat that food. Or I really have this craving. Or I really have to, do something to distract myself from going down in the kitchen. And when you have somebody you can bounce ideas off of online or even call people up, new friends, it makes it easier.
I actually have an Inner Circle membership also. And in that membership, we've done the fasting mimicking diet. We've done a keto, 2-week keto, or 10-day keto. And sometimes we've combined them. And that was like really, actually the easiest for me was doing 5 to 10 days of keto before the fasting mimicking diet. In fact, the last Prolon kit I have, I didn't even finish. It was so much easier. And by that point, it was my fifth or sixth time doing it. I was pretty much, and I intermittent fast. But by the time I got to they have so much food on day one, at that point, I'm like, well, I don't really want any of this, not to mention the soups aren't awesome. So you don't want to eat them. So, we've done some of that also, but I've never, ever, ever done nor led or even participated in a water fast. And, part of it is because it's a little scary. It feels a little extreme. And especially if someone is going from, let's say, and I eat some inflammatory foods, meaning sugar, but otherwise I'm gluten-free and I'm dairy-free and I'm paleo and mostly keto, or I should say mostly paleo. But we have, this fear of and that's why people with dieting or with food in general have a resistance to any change, right? Because it's how we numb ourselves, it's how we soothe ourselves, it's how we distract ourselves. And so all of a sudden you take that away, and now what? I'm left to deal with my shit, and I don't know how, and I don't have another vice. So and I'm the one that, if you tell me this is healthy for me, I don't care what it tastes like, I'll probably do it, right? But I'm weird, like you're weird. We're not normal. There are the rest of society who do want to get better. And after they try conventional things and they realize it doesn't really help, then they start to sort of consider other more extreme things. I've done 2 shows on coffee enemas and on colonics. And so at the tail end, of those 2 shows, I now want to talk about like combining what you combine. And again, a little bit of a protocol if you're willing to share. If somebody can't join the next detox, I'm going to recommend everybody join David's next detox. And I'm really seriously considering it, even though I am having guests. So we're going to talk about that because it's also like extreme work and I want some celebration in there. So I'm sure I could make it a bit of it'd be challenging, but I'm up for the challenge. So when it comes to like rules or the best practices, if you will, like I heard on a video once you say that like first get you down for the first week into like 1 meal a day. And then the second week we move to liquids only. And then the third week we go into the water fast. So can you give us some tips about how we use this, why we'd use it, and what's good or bad?
Well, the number one reason is because you're going to feel better. You can actually have feelings that you've not had even since you were a kid or maybe ever in your life. You can have surges of energy, transformations of your experience of life where you're like, geez, I never actually probably ever felt this good. That can happen. And it can flip. But like in the morning, you feel terrible. By the evening, you're like, I can't believe how good I feel, because that's detoxification, right? It's basically osmosis. It's diffusion. Things will move from an area of higher pressure to an area of lower pressure. As soon as you get the food out of the way, your body goes, whoa, get rid of this stuff. We're all backed up in waste over here, and it pushes it out. This is one of the reasons why we like the coffee enemas and we like the colonics, because it helps to get the waste out. It's also why we like getting people into a sauna every day, because it helps to get the waste out, and why we have people drinking lots of water every day, because we want to get that waste out. So it's really all we're doing. All detox is just diffusion or osmosis. It's a simple idea. The first week, what we do is we just bring people we narrow it down. So it's like, okay, you're going organic. You're going organic. You're not going to eat anything that's not organic this week. And you're going to eat one solid meal this week, and you're going to have a salad with that meal, no matter what it is. And you can have it in the morning, you can have it in the afternoon, you can have it in dinner, whenever it works for you. But just one solid meal. The rest will be liquids, things like this. I've got a liquid elixir next to me right here. And when you narrow it down like that, what you're doing is, it's all mental. It's all mental, actually. It's really interesting. I've learned over the years doing these fasts for literally decades at this point. It's all your mental state. So all we're really doing with the food is just trying to get people into the right mental state. And of course, into ketosis. The physical state of ketosis really helps, because by the time we get to week 2, then we're on all liquids. And we're really avoiding, and we have no blood sugar roller coaster by then. We're trying to get off any kind of blood sugar roller coaster whatsoever. And we're on all liquids. So you can't just reach for stuff. It's got to be liquefied. And that's the mental part of it. You put something in a way, a barrier. And then by the time we get to day 15, then we're ready, if people want to, if they want to join me, for water. And you just start with 1 day. And that's all you have to do. People go, do you think I can make it 3 days? Do you think I can make it a week? Like, just make it 1 day. Just do 1 day with me, and then we'll get you through day 1, and then we'll see what's going to happen on day 2. And a lot of times we psych ourselves out. So again, all the greatest athletes, everything, it's all mental. Look at a human being. Our head is really huge. We got a big old head. Our brain is really unusual. That's the thing about a human being. We have a very unusual brain. So of course that would make sense. It's all upstairs. And so we work with also our social conditioning during that time. So no television. I don't want anything that's going to cause a blood sugar roller coaster based on some kind of news of chaos and destruction or whatever's going on. It's, by the way, the news are never news. It's all old. It's the same old thing. So we just get that stuff off, and we're going to stay into a controlled, suggestive environment. Reading. So we're going to read the great fasting books. So, oh, does that help? Wow, does that help? Rational Fasting by Arnold Ehret. Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret. The Science and Fine Art of Fasting by Herbert Shelton. The classics. We get into those. And that when you're in that space and you're like, okay, I'm cleansing, I'm in day 5, I'm doing this. I've done a colonic first time in my life. And as you're doing this, when you read literature like that, it uplifts you. It makes it easier to do, no question about it. You realize, geez, I better go further, because now that I'm in this, I might as well just keep going. And I worked this out over many years. Like we used to do, okay, let's prep people for 4 days, then we'll do the water fast. Let's prep people for 10 days, then we'll do the water fast. It just, eventually I realized it's a week just to bring people into the ballpark. And then it's another week to really then narrow it down. If I go too long, then people become overripe. And so this is just, and also it's got to fit your schedule. You got to be able to do this. Now, I do want to say this from the mental side of it. Once you understand ketosis and the feelings of ketosis, and that means your blood sugar can drop all the way down and you're not crashing out or you're not wiped out, you can actually just continue with your normal life through every phase of cleansing, including the water fast, which is what I do every time. I just keep going. And so this last time was really fun because we went to 4 dinner parties during the week-long water fast and met some really interesting people. And so I had I met one of the Supreme Court justices of Texas, and him and I just spoke for an hour, and we had just a wonderful time. So that kind of thing can happen because you're so in it that you're totally focused on actually being with people and communicating and being present. It's a totally different thing. And this is the reason why I stay with it, because it's actually, the benefits aren't just, I do feel healthier and better for sure. The inflammation is wiped out of your system through the water fasting. God's operating table can't be beat. Autophagy, your body knows what to do. It'll fix itself. Just get out of the way. But the thing that's so wonderful about it is it just brings you to higher and higher levels of, your homeostasis, what it really means to be in balance. And that is it's just every time it's something amazing happens. And the biggest thing that people want today is reconnection with the sacred, reconnection with the divine and the spiritual. And water fasting does that. And you don't have a choice. You're not going to anything. So you just literally, you turn your light on inside and you connect with your creator inside. And that is just a wonderful thing. I think it's one of the most important spiritual things I've ever been through in my life.
I love that. And I'd agree with that. And I hope that, I know my audience they're aware of that. I mean, we're all sort of old souls talking about all these different things, but I know there's the rest of the world right now, all the younger souls are running around in fear, but so they may not be aware of their yearning for connection to divine and to who they really are, because they're too busy trying to control everybody and what they're doing and how everybody else is doing. So when it comes to, again, my community and everybody who's listening to this, when we think of this transformation opportunity, we think of it as, again, I don't know if you can see behind me, again, since I've been moving, I've been changing out because I had to pack everything, but I've got my original Mind, Body, Soul logo behind me. And it really is, having that experience, not running, not hiding, not numbing, and going a little bit deeper and connecting on a deeper level. And definitely when you remove food, I can't imagine that you wouldn't be able to be smack against looking yourself in the mirror at that point, because you can see your behaviors, you can see the tendencies, you can see that you want to just eat something to just feel better. And it's not even that you're hungry, it's just that you're bored or that you're fidgety and you have anxiety. And as most of you should know by now, anxiety is actually not an emotion. It's a body sensation. It means something needs to be released, and we have to actually allow it expression and tend to it and create space for it. But so often we have no space because we're too busy putting out fires, overworking, overeating, whatever, numbing with technology, or all the myriad of things, alcohol, sugar, you know all the things, and everybody knows all the things, controlling other people, being too involved in everybody else's stuff, watching the television. I'm a big fan of, like, don't even turn it on. Don't turn it on, because what is it? CNN is constantly negative news. Like, it's not real anyway. And half the time, if you need to know something's going on, just look around. And if it's not happening in your space, you're good to go about your day. So when it comes to water fasting, because I know there are people out here who, again, maybe have heard about it. I mean, I talked about it with Dr. Nasha, but we didn't dive into the hows or the benefits. And I know we've talked about the benefits. Are there any dangers? What about people who are diabetic, or people who, are concerned about crashing too hard blood sugar wise? I would say that I'm probably very low, minimal inflammation, but then there are people who are really high inflammation.
Absolutely. We have to be very careful with fasting because it's diffusion. So as soon as you let the pressure off, God knows what's coming out. We're all different. And so we've all accumulated different toxins from our environment, different metabolic toxins from our lifestyle, and just our genetics and the way we are. We're different. And so we've got to go step by step. Now, if you're diabetic, you need to have doctor consultation pretty much every day. And so you have to actually go to a fasting place. And there are great ones around, but I can't do, if you're diabetic, then I can't actually do that with you online. Although you can do the cleanse with us, but you just can't do the water fasting part. People who are hypoglycemic, basically, they're just having trouble getting into ketosis, and they're having, they're demineralized. So they don't have the right nutrients. They don't have the omega-3 fatty acids, and they're basically kind of bottoming out and heading towards diabetes. So if they can get nourished properly, we can usually get them to a point where they can do like a single day of water fasting if they do all the steps, which is not that difficult. By the way, I do want to mention this. We have done this with everybody from every walk of life in every situation. So if you're thinking there's no way I could do that, you definitely can do this, 100%. I've had people who've never fasted on water a single day in their life, did the 3-week cleanse religiously straight up with us, and did it successfully, and did the 7-day water fast. Never thought they could do anything like that. Never, because it's about the system. The system works, so you don't have to. So this is what I learned from the greats, is that just put the systems to work and step out of the way. We know the human body has certain parameters. And if you work with those parameters, the healing will occur. You just got to get out of the way. One of the things that is in those parameters is making sure your bowels are cleaned out. That's always number one. Number two is movement. You've got to move. You got to move every day. I don't care if you're on water fast or whatever you're doing. You got to do at least, our thing is a measured hour in nature every day, even when on the water fast. And then another very key piece is you got to make sure you have a diet that's actually supporting your health and isn't like a junk food diet, or isn't grabbing for stuff. And that's key. And then eventually what we do is we work you, and we do this through the cleansing too, the process, and what we teach you, we get you into the herbalism. And to me, really, the herbalism is what's been overthrown by modern medicine. And they haven't given us a better replacement. Actually, it's been worse. And so if we get to what we call the super herb revolution, which are the top 70 to 80 herbs in the world, you don't have to take all those. I mean, no one is ever going to take all those, but if you just focus on that, when you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years of age, you don't really need much food other than those herbs, and you can think of the great ones that you like. Maybe somebody's like, I'm really into ginseng. Somebody's really into reishi mushroom. Another person's really into uña de gato. Another person is really into vanilla bean. So the herbs are different for each person and what you like too, but there's a hierarchy of herbs in the world, and we like the dual directional herbs. We call them the tonic herbs or the super herbs. This is what Chinese medicine eventually figured out. This is what Ayurvedic medicine eventually figured out. All medicinal systems in the world figured it out, that if you have the best stuff in your ecosystem, they say the top 5, you're good. I mean, you are so good. And we go deeper and deeper into that, because all our training is not that. Our training is pharmaceutical sales, on television. That's basically what they're trying to do to us. And when we get the herbalism in, we're like, whoa, this can really happen. And another big part of it, and I do have to bring this in because I'm a nutritionist and I get to talk about this, we get the parasites out. That's a part of the first 2 weeks, is we actually will go, and we really get you ready 2 weeks before that. So we're a month into the parasite cleansing before we hit the water fasting. What crazy things you see over the years. What incredible pictures people send you of stuff that came out of their body. We always think, oh, parasites, that's like in somewhere else, Mexico or somewhere over there. No, absolutely not. They're parasites. You can't believe how many parasites people are dealing with. And that's why a big part of the problem, not the only part of it, why people have chronic health problems.
So are you taking them through a regimen of, again, supplements or some kind of herbs that help with parasite cleansing, or is it just part of the process of what they're doing with the reducing of food and calories and then using colonics and things?
It's really hard to get the bad guys out without the right herbalism. So we guide them. We give them ideas for products that are out there. Maybe they're in the UK, so they have to get it somewhere over there. Or some people are in Australia, so they have to get over there. So we give them all the parameters of what kind of products to look for that really work. And I will just put this in here since I got you this far, as the products for the herbal products that work against parasites actually work mechanically. So alcohol extracts of those herbs really don't work. They don't get the job done. You actually have to mechanically process the herb through, even if it's powder. And so capsules can work as long as the actual herb is in there.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question about how many detoxifying products that you see out there. And I know that I've seen you promoting some of them and talking about the benefits of some of them, but I know there's so many of them and they're not all probably the same quality. Some of them are probably a bunch of hype and some of them probably really work. It's just being able to figure out the difference of which one is which.
So I'm going to tell you something that this is the summation of all my work and 27 years as a professional in this field. And I eventually arrived at this. When I tell you this, you can't unknow it, which is fantastic. It's really incredible news. It's such a shocking discovery. I'm still literally floored about it all the time. Last night, I did quite a bit of this material, and the material is charcoal. Charcoal is the #1 detoxifier in human history, and it's the most gentle. So you can just use one 500 milligram capsule. In fact, my big bag's right over there. It's just out of reach. All right, I'd show you my big bag of charcoal. And I do the encaps. I do my own charcoal product because that's a product I really want to have the quality that I like. So it's beyond of quality control. You don't have to get that crazy about it, but just do one 500 milligram capsule of charcoal in the morning when you rise with your water. Now, over time, that adds up. It is the most powerful detoxification substance. It is the easiest for your body to deal with. It actually works with your body's natural systems of filtration, because charcoal is a phenomenal filtration material. You want to clean water, filter it through charcoal. You want to clean air, filter it through charcoal. You want to clean your body, filter your body through charcoal. So like last night, I did about 9, I think, capsules, which is a lot for me. That's more than I've done in quite a while. So it was 9 500 milligram capsules. So what is that? That's 4,500 milligrams. It's a lot. But it will really work. It really works, because I'm doing a little cleanse right now. Actually, I've been on liquids for the last 3 days, and so this is one of the things I've learned. So that's a real powerful tool. Other things, iodine, very important. We have so many other aggressive competitors to the iodine receptor site, like bromine, and all our cars and brand new cars all covered in bromine. All kind of furniture is covered in bromine. Crazy the exposure. Fluoride obviously competes for that receptor site as well, and chlorine competes for that receptor site. So we're getting pressure of those things: fluoride, chlorine, and bromine. And therefore, you need iodine to drive that stuff off, meaning that you saturate yourself with iodine. You will not absorb the chlorine, fluoride, or bromine. That's another key one. And we go on like that, but I don't want to give to people too much. Few tools.
Well, the good news is I have both of those and I've used both of those. I'm not currently using them, but I will start tomorrow. But I want to talk a second about the charcoal, because I use some Dr. Schultz products, and he's got the intestinal cleanse, which is the charcoal, and then the intestinal cleanse #1, which is pretty powerful. In fact, I feel like it's the most powerful one I've ever used. But the dosage is really high. And so you're saying just take one, and is it indefinite or just during cleansing time?
Great question. Well, the problem with charcoal is in high dosage, it can be constipating, and that's the issue. So if you don't want to get too crazy, because some people have more sensitive digestion. I have very hardy digestion, so I can take 9 charcoal capsules on an empty stomach without having any food, no problem. I am unusual in that regard. You got to be careful. That's why not everybody can do what everybody else does. High dosing. If you're going to do a cleanse and you're like, hey, I'm heading into this, I want to really do this, then you just dose up. You're going to go up and you're going to build up, and then eventually you're going to bring it right back down. Through the water fast, I like people still taking charcoal. It has no calories, doesn't influence blood sugar. It does influence autophagy, right, which is the self-eating, self-digestion of incompletely digested material in your body, necrotic tissue, etc. So this is really interesting. This is an almost inert substance. Charcoal, it's inert, but it has very powerful triggering mechanisms, epigenetic triggering mechanisms in the cellular metabolism that cause the cells to dump toxins. And that's really phenomenal research. That was one of my favorite things. I did write a book on charcoal. I haven't published it. It's about 147 pages, single space typed. It's a lot. That was one of my favorite finds, and all of it was like, whoa, it's actually epigenetic. If you take it, it influences your body's desire to get rid of toxins, like, will actually cause numerous genetic pathways to be opened up, even though, again, it's inert.
Or are you telling people to take it when they're not cleansing?
Yeah, even when you're not cleansing, just for the day-to-day exposure, I mean, breathing an automobile exhaust or just the food exposure, or let's say you were at a restaurant, you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have eaten that. Uh-oh. That's when you take two charcoals at that point. It is really incredible what can happen. Like I had it was an eggplant. What's that called? It's called what's the
Baba ganoush?
eggplant? Got a baba ganoush. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it had, was sitting around too long and it got a little bacteria growing in it. And I was on my way, I was on an airport run and I was like, uh-oh, something's wonky. This is not good. I took 8 charcoals within 10 minutes, completely gone, wiped the whole thing out like nothing. And this is really important to have. It's called the antidote. So I travel, always have charcoal on me, not just for myself, but for others, because people, food poisoning all the time. You can't believe how many situations where charcoal comes in handy, even to disinfect a wound. Very powerful to have charcoal. Charcoal is it's a cleanliness substance. We like to say cleanliness is near to godliness. Of course, that famous ancient phrase. And that's why, like, I use it for all my, again, water filtration, air filtration, and even like around this house, I've got 2 giant totes of charcoal coming in here to just purify all the gardens around this house and get ready for the next season. It resets the ecosystem. That's why in nature they have fires, right? So all that charcoal comes down and resets and re-kicks off the start of the ecosystem.
I love that. I want to ask you about, so I know I'm cheating. I won't be cheating any longer when it comes to intermittent fasting, and talking about just fasting and water fasting. So, we're told, like, for alkalinity or for whatever, there's many different reasons why you put some lemon in your water in the morning. When you're talking about it, is that something, because it's a fruit and you're not eating the lemon, but is the juice considered, not a traditional water fast if you're putting lemon in your water?
I consider it a traditional water fast ingredient. And the reason is because it's not going to stimulate your blood sugar, right? If it had any sugar in it, it absolutely would. And so there's certain things that I will allow people to have some of on the water fast for a number of reasons. One of them is charcoal, the other is water, the other is lemon, and the final one is sea salt. Now, I've done so many water fasts and led so many water fasts without any sea salt, no electrolytes. That's really dangerous because people can be really low in electrolytes. Like I'm a sea salt guy. I collect sea salts on beaches all around the world, where it accumulates on the rocks like stalagmites. I'll go break those off and put them in containers and bring it home. And, I'm that kind of guy. Wild sea salt procuring and farming, right? This is something that people have never heard of. And so the type of salts we've all been eating is really dead. It's been dead in a box for years. And this is not a good source of electrolytes. When it's active, like a sea salt, you can see it with sea salt because sea salt will get up on the rim of the jar it's in. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it got up on what's going on? Is this stuff moving around in here? And that's because it's just very close to the life force. So I'm a sea salt guy. And that's what I recommend for electrolytes. A lot of these electrolyte products are just designer sea salts. That's all they are. And so you might as well go to the real thing. And then I also, by the way, use a lot of sea salt in farming, which is a whole nother conversation. I'm a big organic farmer and big tree grower. I love growing trees. And one of the things that nature is always looking for, if you put a salt lick out there, every deer in that forest back there is going to be coming for that because it's hard to find. And that tells us about the value of salt. That's why the Romans had the salt pay. That's the salary, the Roman soldiers' salt pay, because you couldn't march unless you had it. So this is something we lost, is if you could run out of salts, you can lose energy and your blood pressure can drop. And this is very important. So if we're in a low blood pressure moment, like you get up and you're like lightheaded and you got to go back down, when we're cleansing or water fasting, and then you have to have some sea salt in your water, get that blood pressure back up so you have some electrolytes.
Okay, so I'm a product person. I like things, and again, I have you here, and I trust you. I've watched you for years, and so it's time to encourage people. Don't just go on Amazon and pick whatever charcoal product that you think you want. Let's get David's. So you're going to go to davidwolfe.com. And we're gonna give you a little deal. What kind of deal we're gonna give them, David?
So it's a 10% off and on anything in the whole store, everything. And we'll just do it. The code will just be JJ. How about that? Just those 2 letters, JJ.
Yep, perfect. Let me
and
I'll
make sure it's a Shopify site. So when you click discount, you have to actually click apply. so that it applies to your order. And you'll see it'll change the numbers on your order.
All right, so let me put that back up for those of you that are watching this video, davidwolfe.com, code JJ to get 10% off. So get your charcoal now, because I know you're already looking for it. You're listening to this and you're already on Amazon, Googling it and trying to figure out what charcoal product to get, because again, this is a simple way to cleanse and to deal with digestion and toxins every day, whether you're doing a water fast or not. So besides the charcoal and iodine and sea salt, which is great, and and lemon, I use not a lot, I shouldn't say that. I'm putting minerals in my water. So my cocktail in the morning when I'm after coffee, although I'm thinking of giving up coffee for a little while. I have a hate and love affair with coffee. It's, I did it for a long time as a personal trainer when I was having clients at like 5:30 in the morning and I was up at 4:45 and it wasn't even light out yet. Something psychologically said to me, you need to have coffee. And so I got into this like habit. And one day I looked at myself and I said, why do you got to have coffee? Because the sun's not out? I was like, this is dumb. So I just stopped and I didn't have it for years. And then I got married and my husband at the time, it would be like the ritual. It was like that bonding time. And it was the ritual of coffee. So I got back into coffee again. And then I went off of it again. It's like back and forth. And I don't like tea and my digestion hates green tea. I feel nauseous after having it. I wish I could do green tea. It would be awesome. But again, I get like nauseous, so I can't do green tea. So I will be moving to getting rid of coffee very soon. But with or without coffee, my morning sort of water to start it off is literally, and I have an amazing organic Meyer lemon tree at my new house, along with
nice.
2 orange trees, a grapefruit tree. And I literally have so many orange lemons that I want to use them. And so every day I cut up a new piece of fruit and I'll put some purified water in there with a couple drops, so, some minerals. I'll do 1 drop of zinc and I'll do vitamin D. And that's kind of where I start. And I'll just refill that water bottle a couple times during the day. Now, when you're doing water fasting, the vitamin D and the zinc and those kinds of supplements and minerals, adding minerals.
Generally, what I do is I just get people, we're going to go off of everything. We're going to go right back to the total basics. And the reason why we do that is because at some point in our lifestyle, we have to have a moment of like, that's it, boom, there's like a line, and we just leave everything behind and we go on to the bare necessities. Now, what's interesting is that as you get into the water fasting, your body goes, oh, this is good. And you'd want to go deeper. So a lot of times people will say, you know what, I drank, you recommended drinking 3 to 6 liters of water, but I only really could drink 1 liter of water. I felt fine. And it was great. And that's all they did for that whole day on the fast. Which you think, a liter of water, they got away with a liter of water, but you'd be surprised. Your body will tell you. Your body knows what to do. You just have to follow it. But we have to get out of the way. Our entire reality is just more and more stuff. So at some point we have to go, okay, let's get away from stuff. Let the healing powers come through. The forces that are within our body, right? There's forces in your body that are tracking the stars. There's forces in your body that are tracking every bit of blood flow through your brain. It just goes on and on. It's infinite. So if we can harness that intelligence for healing, then let's do it. That's what the water fasting is doing.
Okay. I just thought, because the things I was taking weren't 1 drop of zinc and some vitamin D, just preventatively. But I'm happy to, not to mention that I have a half an acre now with a pool. We'll talk about that at another time. I'm going to have to use my iodine and my chlorine and my charcoal to decrease the chlorine exposure. I am decreasing it, but water filtration for a pool is like a whole nother conversation. I mean, I have had so many conversations with people that it's disheartening actually. But I'd love to learn more as I continue through this journey with that. But I have this whole acre of land, or half acre, that I'm going to be spending a ton of time in between a garden, organic garden, and my fruit trees and the cats in the backyard. And we have this whole like livable area. So I know that I'm getting enough vitamin D for as much time as I'm going to be spending outside. So that doesn't bother me. And I'm looking forward to trying a mini version of this sooner than later, because I'm feeling that like my body's like, you have to do something right now. Like it's screaming at me. And so I know I get and I know the value in doing it as a group. I know the value in being led and having support when you're feeling the negative effect of it and saying, hey, is this normal? Or I'm having this, what should I do? And so again, I'm encouraging everybody to go to, and actually where you can find that information, right, is the Upgrade Life Club. UpgradeLife.club. Okay.
Yep.
So
all our cleanses are there.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Explain to people what they're going to find and why they want to go to UpgradeLife.club.
Okay, so what we do is we get you everything you could ever want to know, all the information about detoxifying your whole life, right? All the chemicals in our cleaning supplies, all the chemicals in our food supply. We go through all of those things. I go through that with doctors and different people I've interviewed, and all that's part of the cleanse. We charge $99 for the cleanse, but it's really we could easily charge $999 for it. But I want something that's out there just for everybody who can participate. And the reason why I charge at all is because back in the old days I didn't charge. I just gave free cleanses to all my customers and be like, okay, we're doing this for this period of time or whatever it was. And people would bail out. And that really taught me a lesson. If you put some money in, then you got skin in the game and you're ready to go. And I don't want people bailing out 2 weeks in. I want them really committed and to going as far as they can go. And then when they're ready to back out, we check in and we're like, okay, you've gone as far as you're going on this one. It's time to back out. And then the next one, by the way, I've had people come back and boom, they got through their first day of water fasting. The next time they got through 3 days. The next time they got through 7 days, the third one. It's totally possible that can happen to you, by the way. I just don't want anybody to think in their mind, like, I can't do it. I can't lose the 100 pounds. All of those things are just totally mental. You just surrender to the process. That's what you have to do. You surrender to the process. You go through the process. You're like, okay, today we're doing this and today we're doing that, however uncomfortable it is. And pretty soon the uncomfortable becomes comfortable. But when you put money down, it's like you're betting. You're saying, okay, I'm going to put a bet down. You'll save the money, actually. $99 for what we give you. Yeah, I mean, I'm there every day with you, coaching you. It goes beyond just the 3 weeks. I'm in a Telegram group right now with the people in our last cleanse. That was back in March. We stay in touch with each other almost every day. So we're creating new friends. It's like a new community of people who are like-minded. And it's so interesting. Sometimes we get people who, they're going to go for it and they're going to do it. And other times people are like, they're dragging and they need a lot of help and support. And it's just always variable. So we always have to get this eclectic group, and it is a lot of fun, life-changing fun.
And I love the suggestion of reading the books. And you rattled them off so damn fast that I'm going to have to go back and listen to this to get them. But reading the book, definitely, because anytime somebody listens to a show, again, I have people telling me, oh, I listened to your colonic show and now I've done my 5th colonic, right? Because when you understand the science, when you understand the benefits, when you really take a look at and focus on that part of your body and what you're doing and what you've never experienced before, and then you go, oh, I probably need that. And all of a sudden it becomes a focal point, and then you take action on that. And definitely I'm ready to do a major cleanse because I'm leaving. Like, I'm literally on an emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical level. I'm literally leaving my life, and I'm starting a new one in 48 hours from the recording of this video and of this audio. And I think that's what's calling to me, to just cut ties, to have completion, and to just reset. And because the last 2 years have been great in many ways, but the living environment has not been ideal, but it was what had to get me here. So if anyone's feeling the same, whether it be COVID related or, life change related, age related, weight related, whatever, it's probably time to really consider doing go all in. And I know while the fasting mimicking diet is only 5 days and some people struggle through that, this is different. And I think that it's, again, it's cheap. It's a third of what we pay, right, for the products within that 5-day period, and you're getting them 3 weeks. So look at upgradelife.club. Again, if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. And if you're here on the video, you can see the link here on the screen. And I just want to remind you also to get the charcoal. I'm going to be trying David's charcoal. You can get 10% off by using the code JJ when you go to davidwolfe.com off of any product. It's only because I've been using other products for so long, but I'm open and ready to try some new things. And I trust that your quality is top notch, and I'm looking forward to getting some and using it on a regular basis. Besides the water fasting and the beginning conversation of detoxing, I feel like every time I want to have a conversation about detoxing, it's so loaded. It's so on one end, it's simple, and we've covered it very well today on the simplicity of it in terms of the toxins in our air and our water and everywhere. And the need for detoxing is greater now than it ever has been. And it continues to be so because of modern society and technology and things that while we benefit from them, we suffer from them too. And so it's not like some weird thing. And not to mention, it's ritualistic in every culture. I mean, I was raised Orthodox. I was raised Greek Orthodox. And what's different from Orthodoxy to Catholicism during Lent is the fasting process. In Orthodoxy, you are to go without food. There are actually like no food, no water days. There's, 40 days without meat. And I would always take it like one step further. Like every year I challenge myself to do something more. So it's not just a Wednesday and a Friday kind of thing. It's the 40 days. It's a fast, and it's a more significant fast. And again, it was done in reverence to their spiritual beliefs and to their religious beliefs. But in every culture, I'm sure there are fasting rituals that have gone on for centuries to help cleanse our body. But until we bring them into our current everyday life, we think it's some kind of weird diet, right?
Yes, right. It really, that's the thing that I love about it. It's as ancient as human life. And when you connect to fasting and you're actually doing it, you will connect to experiences of your ancestors who had to go without food. You will connect to what's going on in nature. Like when the animals run out of food, they have to deal with it. And so there comes a moment where you go, I have to, you accept, you just accept, like I accept that I will not eat. I accept that there's no food. And I like to say this to my people. I say, we're going to suffer with dignity. We're going to suffer with dignity. If you get to a point where you're feeling suffering, suffer with dignity. But a lot of times you actually do not suffer. It's surprising actually, because you go, actually I'm feeling better. And I'm like, what's the deal here? I can't believe I haven't had food in 3 days. I'm feeling amazing. I've got more energy. How could this be? That happens a lot every day, actually. When we're in this cleanse together, people come in with those kind of reports. And so that helps to keep everybody uplifted and excited about it. But it's very much a journey inward. And with all the stuff that happened in 2020, we had so much interest in our cleanses because it's all about going inward. And instead of all this outward nonsense and all the, just all the media, it's a complete nightmare. But this inward journey is really something. And it caused you to pick up books. You're like, let me pick up the Bible. Let me read this. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read this book. And you look at it with different eyes.
I love it. It does intersect. So I teach law of attraction, and it's all about alignment and meditation, intuition. I've got a strengthening intuition course. So on the emotional, mental, spiritual side, we talk a lot about. I harp constantly about the emotional root of a lot of disease and a lot of pain and a lot of issues that people have, because it's the one thing that people don't want to look at because it's hard. But I'd say the next thing that people have to work up to is this fasting idea. It's like, okay, so to put those two things together, and we're going to have some big transformation, both mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. So I invite everyone to go get your charcoal first and foremost, davidwolfe.com, use JJ as the code to get 10% off, and then go to upgradelife.club and look for the next detox and next cleanse. I promise I will be on one soon. I may or may not be on this next one just because of timing, but I promise all of you I will be on one because I would love David to lead me through this process. I'm going to play with some other shorter things in the next, like literally starting tomorrow. Like I'm going to literally tomorrow start something different because I've been wanting and waiting for this. I could have canceled this interview. I'm literally at the end of boxes up to my ears before this move. And I was like, nope, I need this. I personally need a kick in the butt right now and again, perfect timing for this life transition for me. So if any of you are going through something that's a transition, that's why women get their hair cut when they get out of a marriage or they break up with someone. It's like this new breath of life. It's this new unlayering. Well, it's time to unlayer from the inside and from what we've been doing to it, at least for the last year for me. And for some of you, for a lifetime. So please check out David's stuff. And then you have a YouTube channel, but you don't have a podcast, do you?
I don't know. I really just like communicating with my closest group. A lot of them are on Telegram Messenger, and it numbers out to about 60,000 people. That's just like my tightest community. And I can just correspond with them directly, quickly, and I like that better. So that's another thing too. I have been huge in social media, massive. I mean, I had I think the biggest Facebook site in the world for a few years. And so to everybody out there, if you're curious, what do you do? Should I do social media? Should I not? Is that what I need for my business? Do the type of social media that you like. That's my advice to you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I tried many things, and it was until I had a podcast that my entire life changed. But that's about giving yourself permission to be who you are.
Because you like it. You like it. And that's so important. You got to love what you're doing.
I like it, but I felt like I could just be me because I wasn't looking directly at somebody and I was putting out what I cared about and not caring who heard it or who didn't like it. And then I attracted the right people who wanted what I had. And that was when I attracted sort of a soul tribe that I couldn't find on Facebook or through email campaigns or joint ventures or affiliate marketing or all the other things that I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot myself in the head because none of this is fun. But definitely podcasting has created for me a very deep connection with a lot of people and changed lives, which I love, which I know you're doing too. And I do in-person events still. Have my next one coming up in October. So I'm very much like, I want that quality time connection with people. So I appreciate your quality time with me today, with my audience. I'd love to have you back. There's so many things to talk about. But thank you so much. Everybody, please check out David's stuff and hopefully we'll have you back in the future.
Thanks so much, JJ. It was a pleasure.